In the past months, many people have been choosing Istanbul or in general Turkey as their new place to live. And one of the main reasons is because it's relatively more affordable compared to many other countries in the world. So, if you want to know about the expenses in Istanbul in 2022, such as rent, monthly utilities, groceries, and transportation, then this video is for you. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe for more about Türkiye. So let's get started. So let's get straight to the point. So basically, if you're still wondering if it's still a good idea moving to Turkey in the coming weeks or months, then you need to watch this video, because here we are going to explain to you everything about the cost of living, the rents, and also about the inflation rates that Turkey is going through since the past weeks. So as many of you already know, the situation in Turkey for the past weeks has turned a bit more difficult, especially for Turkish citizens and also for some foreigners. The devalued Turkish lira is driving prices higher and higher every single day, from fuel, imports, and everyday goods. Meanwhile, rents have also skyrocketed, and prices for home sales, which are mostly set in dollar, are also increasing. So before we start with all of the prices, first I want to tell you how much is the currency exchange as of today, which is February 27 of 2022. So for $1, it will cost right now 13.82 Turkish liras. And when it comes to the euro, €1 will be 15.58 Turkish liras. Turkey has many cities and provinces that you can choose from to settle there. But if you're thinking of moving exclusively to Istanbul, then you need to keep in mind that Istanbul is probably the most expensive city to live in Turkey. So let's start with the first point, because of course if you want to move to Turkey, probably you might consider working here. So for that, let's start talking about the salary in this country. So the minimum wage in Turkey as of January of 2022 now is of 4,200 Turkish liras. Remember that here on the screen we're going to write what's the equivalent in US dollars, so also you can have that in mind. So for example, in your case that you're a foreigner and you want to work here in Turkey, let's say in education, because also let's remember that depending on the area that you would like to work at, let's say engineering, education, medicine, or any other, even tourism, foreign people with a valid working permit, you will need a work permit, then you will earn 2 up to 4 times more than the minimum wage for Turkish citizens. So for example, before I was working in the education area. In my case, I was teaching Spanish to Turkish students. So of course I had my valid work permit throughout these years, and of course I was getting paid more, three times more the minimum wage. So for example, if we consider 2022 that the minimum wage is 4,200 Turkish liras, then if you're teaching English or Spanish, for example, then you will earn 3 times more. That will be almost 13,000 Turkish liras. And of course, you will need to deduce the taxes, which at the end you will have for you about 11,000 Turkish liras. And of course, those salaries will depend on the area that you are working at. So it depends if you are an engineer or in tourism and so on. Also, as a little tip, don't forget that if you want to work here in Turkey, then you must have a valid work permit, because if you only have your valid residence permit, that doesn't mean that you can work and earn money in Turkey. For that, you will need your residence permit, and then the company that you will work for, they will provide you the work permit. But you cannot do anything, you cannot work here only with your ikamet, which is the residence permit. Once you have your valid work permit, then you will have all the benefits of earning more salary from the minimum wage, depending on the area that you are working at. Also, many people have been asking me, what's the currency that companies usually pay to their employees? Well, let me tell you that here in Turkey, probably 99% of companies will pay you in Turkish liras. It will be just a few, and they are very rare, the companies that will pay you in a foreign currency, and I'm talking in dollars or euros. Now that you already know what are the salaries in Turkey in 2022 and how much money you can approximately earn if you're legally working in the country, now let's get going to the next steps, which is showing you how much you will be paying for housing, daily goods, utilities, and so on. Now let's try and speak about my favorite topic, and this is about housing in Istanbul. 2 years ago, we also made another video for our YouTube channel, but of course the prices ever since have totally changed. So right now we're gonna be checking and comparing some housing in different areas of the city. If you're asking yourself how you can find for housing in Turkey, then I will recommend you using the app Sahibinden. This is a Turkish app that you can mostly find in Turkish, but you can also find an English version, and it is quite easy navigating on it. Here you will be able to find any property which is on sale or on rent. So this is the website called Sahibinden. Here we are going to choose residential, and here you can find all the flats and properties available for sale and for rent. We're going to click for rent and then flat, and then here you can see all of the provinces or cities in Turkey. Of course, we're going to choose Istanbul, and afterwards you can see all of the districts in the city. First of all, we're going to choose Beşiktaş, since that will be one of the districts we're going to be comparing. Once we are here in Beşiktaş, you will choose the neighborhoods that you would like to live in. So we try to choose a few of them, and then we're going to set the minimum and the maximum budget that you will have here, so you can see like how much are the prices. Approximately we set 3,000 to 6,000 Turkish liras, and here you can see the size of the flats. For example, 2+1 means 1 room plus 1 living room, 2+1, 2 rooms and 1 living room. Here you can see the properties available. But also I will recommend you to set more filters, because in Istanbul it will be much better if you can find a property which is in a new building, no more than 20 years old, for obvious reasons. So I usually put that filter as well, and here we can see all the properties with those features. And as you can see, only 3 properties for these prices, like 4,800, and well, you can judge with the pictures. And also here you can see the location. As you can see, this one is very close to the ferry port in Beşiktaş and the Bosphorus, and it is very well located. The next district that we're going to be comparing is Beyoğlu, and Beyoğlu because it is also very well located. And here we are choosing as well the neighborhoods, all the districts that it's good for living. Not just for touristing. I will stay away from Taksim and Istiklal, of course, but here we're choosing some residential areas like Cihangir, which is one of the most famous in Beyoğlu. And as well, we set all the filters, the building how old, and as you can see, only 2 for this budget. 6,000 liras already, 6,000. These are fully furnished, and one of them is only a studio. You can see it's really nice, but I mean, it's only a studio and it's fully furnished. The location, as you can see, it's very well located. There is Karaköy, Galata, there is also the port, the Bosphorus is excellent. But as you can see, it's not a big property. Now we're going to compare another district located this time on the Asian side of the city. It is written as Anadolu, and we're going to check in Kadıköy. Here you can see all of the districts that you can choose from. To be honest, I prefer much more living on the Asian side than in the European side, because it is more residential and much more calmer as well. So here you can find Moda, Bostancı, Suadiye, Erenköy, and many others. And as well, we're going to set all the filters. How old do you want your building, and also your budget. We're going to set from 3,000 liras up to 6,000 Turkish liras. And as you can see, we only found these ones. And this first option is very small. It's only 55 meters square and 1+1, and it's almost 5,500 Turkish liras almost. And you can see this one as well. It looks very small, like not very spacious, but it looks nice. Let's check the location. Okay, the location is really good. This yellow, there is the main metro line on the Asian side in Kadıköy, and it's very close to the seaside as well. And well, basically, these are some of the prices that you can find in Istanbul in some of the best located areas in the city. As I told you before, you might find better prices if you choose living a bit far away. But for that also you need to make sure that there is a transportation line, at least a metro line, that will take you to other areas in a short time, or you will need a car. And the other option is also trying to find housing through real estate agencies. And as a foreigner, I will recommend you instead, because it's a bit safer, doing it through a real estate agency. Of course, it might be a little bit more expensive, but also it will be a bit safer, because usually through Sahibinden, okay, some real estate agencies will do all of the procedures and everything, but we don't really know who are we dealing with. So just in case, or if you don't have some Turkish person to help you out with that through Sahibinden, then just go to a real estate agency. The second point will be about the utilities. How much money are we gonna spend for all the utilities monthly? Don't forget that all the expenses that you're going to pay for in a month will depend also on how many people are living in an apartment. So in our case, I will put myself as an example. We are only 2 people in a house, my husband and myself. So this is how much money we're spending in utilities monthly, even though for these last 2 or 3 months. So the first service that we're gonna speak about will be about water. How much money are we spending in water? Well, in our case, monthly, we have been paying between 60 to 100 Turkish liras for 2 people. The second one is electricity. And in our case, we are paying between 300 to 500 Turkish liras monthly. But once again, I have seen on many Facebook groups that specifically about electricity bills has been so volatile lately, because some people, they have been complaining that they are mostly not at home, or if in case that they are at home but they don't, they really take care of the electricity they are consuming, and still they are paying so much money, like even more than 1,000 liras. So to be honest, in my case, I was a bit worried this month, because I thought that the bill was going to be expensive, especially because we have been using as well one electric heater besides our normal heaters. So I was like a bit afraid, but thankfully we didn't pay that much. So for this month, I think we're going to pay like 500 or 600 Turkish liras, which is a bit high already for us, but still it's normal. Number 3, this is going to be internet. And of course, everybody needs the internet nowadays, because a lot of us, we are also working online. So if you want a package, you will need to consider at least 100 Turkish liras for internet. Number 4, this is going to be about gas. How much money are we paying for this service? In our case, we are paying between 400 to 1,000 Turkish liras in winter, because let's not forget that usually in winter season is when, of course, we are using the heater, and mostly at all times, all day. So in this case, it will be much more expensive. In summer season, of course, you will pay much less. So also consider that depending on the size of your house, you will pay more money because you are consuming more gas. In our case, our flat is just for 2 people. It's only a 2+1, so we don't really consume that much gas. So in our case, the maximum 1,000 Turkish liras for 2 people. Number 5, let's go with the phone package. In my case, I am paying between 40 to 60 Turkish liras, because also depends on how many gigabytes I want to have on my phone. But also you can expect to pay 100 liras or even more. Once again, everything depends on the company that you are getting your phone package with and the gigabytes that you want to have. So you can be expecting to pay for utilities monthly between 1,700 Turkish liras to 2,000 Turkish liras for 2 people. Of course, once again, everything will depend from how much are you consuming, how many people are living, and also the season in the country. But I will say that this could be a normal amount of money that you could be spending monthly for utilities in Turkey. Our next topic will be talking about foods and groceries. Once again, for the expenses that you're going to spend monthly for groceries or food, it will definitely depend on how many people are living in a house, and also where are you getting your groceries from. There are many markets in Istanbul and also bazaars where you can get your groceries from, but some of the main markets that you can find here will be the next ones. I will start from the most expensive to some of the most affordable ones. And the first one will be Macro Center. Macro Center is a well-known supermarket where also you can find many like gourmet type products and also international products from international cuisine. So that's why it will be much more expensive than normal than other supermarkets. So if you want to buy things from there, then you need to have more money to buy in those supermarkets. Another famous supermarket in Istanbul, or in Turkey actually, will be Migros. And Migros is not as expensive as Macro Center, but also it will be a bit more expensive than most of other supermarkets. The next one, also you can find a lot of things from Carrefour, and this is another supermarket that you can find many things as well. In that one, it will depend on the product that you're buying, but also it can be sometimes a bit expensive. And also some of the most affordable markets that you'll be able to find in Turkey and in Istanbul as well will be Shock, BİM, and A101. These ones will have much more affordable products, and also depending on the store and the district, they will have a better quality in products like fruits or vegetables, but usually they have very good quality. So also you can check on those supermarkets. You will find them mostly everywhere in the city, in the country, so these are very convenient. And the last ones, of course, in every district, in every neighborhood, you will be able to find also some local supermarkets with different names. So also you can go and check prices, and most of the times they have very good quality as well and good prices. Usually this is something that I do, that I try to compare prices from different supermarkets, especially from Shock, BİM, and the local supermarkets that I have in my area. There are also some applications, some apps that you can get to your mobile where you can also order your groceries and they will bring them directly to your house. So in this case, there will be İstegelsin, Getir Food, and even in Trendyol. Trendyol also already has one option, which is Hızlı Market, or the fast market. And also they have some local markets around your neighborhood that can deliver their services all the way to your house. So also that is a good way for comparing prices between one market to another one. So now let's go with the prices. So once again, I want to state that we are two people. So I'm giving you the prices for two people. And in our case, we are spending weekly between 350 to 400 Turkish liras. And trust me, sometimes we don't even buy like so many things, because right now also the inflation with the daily goods, it's just skyrocketing day by day. So even sometimes you just buy a little bit of fruits and vegetables and you will think that you might pay, I don't know, like 100 liras, and it turns to be almost 200 liras. So you can expect to pay for a monthly fee for groceries between 1,400 Turkish liras to 2,200 Turkish liras. Once again, everything depends on how many people are in your family and where are you getting the groceries from. Just to give you a few examples for the prices that you can find in some of the most common foods, I will give you a few. For example, if you want to buy milk, expect to pay at least 13 liras for 1 liter. Then for 30 pieces of eggs, now it's between 42 to even 50 Turkish liras. Ground beef, only 500 grams, expect to pay between 45 to 55 Turkish liras. And for 1 kilogram of chicken, now is 50 Turkish liras. And the last topic will be about the transportation. Well, if you want to live in Istanbul, you need to have in mind that this city is enormous. So for example, if you are living on the Asian side, but you're working in the European side, then definitely you need to take so many transportations. You need to transfer at least 2 to 3 times one way, and another 2 to 3 times the other way when you are going back home. So here we're going to show you how much money do you need for the transportation in Istanbul. So for example, if you want to use only the public transportation in Istanbul, and that includes already metro, buses, ferry, the Marmaray, any sort of transportation that you think about, then you can use the Blue Istanbul card. This Blue Istanbul card will allow you to use up to 200 times any sort of transportation in the city, but you will have to pay monthly the amount of 430 Turkish liras. So this means that if you're using the public transportation every single day, and even you like going out and explore the city and everything, of course this is very convenient because you are going to be saving money for the transportation. On the other hand, if you don't really use the transportation that often, or maybe you work from home or you just go out a few days a week, then it's better just topping up your Istanbul card how many times you need. And when you top it up, you're going to pay for the first transportation in the city almost 6 Turkish liras. On the other hand, if you don't want to use the public transportation and you want to buy a car, okay, number one, you need to consider how much is the gasoline. So today the gasoline is 17 Turkish liras per liter. So if you have a car, then you need to consider that you will be spending per month only for gasoline between 1,500 Turkish liras to 2,000 Turkish liras. Also, this depends how big the car is, if it's 4 or 6 cylinders. So now to put all of the expenses together, we're going to give you a total. We're going to give you 2 budgets. For example, one like low budget and medium budget of how much you can expect to be spending here in Istanbul for everything. So if you want to live just like a low budget, you can expect to be paying for 2 people between 7,500 Turkish liras. But if you want to live in a medium budget that you don't have to worry so much about things, for 2 people, probably almost 11,000 Turkish liras for 2 people. And what is going to make the whole difference about your budget? It will be the house that you're renting, how much you are paying. This will be the biggest problem for everybody, because trust me, right now the rents and everything, they're just in the sky. I mean, I don't know, from one moment to another, all of a sudden everything got so expensive. So yes, I mean, that will make a lot of difference. So basically, if you want to live in a central area, in a good location in Istanbul, then you need to keep in mind that you need a very good budget, because even right now you cannot find a house, let's say near the seaside or in a central area like Beyoğlu or Beşiktaş or even Kadıköy for less than 5,000 Turkish liras. So just keep that in mind. Of course, you can find much more affordable houses like in Beylikdüzü or some other areas, but trust me, they are so far away. And if you want to live in some of those areas, more likely you will also need to have a car, because also the public transportation doesn't go that far yet. There are no metro lines, only I think Metrobus, and it's not very convenient for people that do not own a car yet. So that's why you really need to keep in mind, like, okay, I want to get a house, but okay, I don't have a car. So of course I will need to have at least one metro line or buses available nearby, especially if your working area is not that close to your house. So there are many facts that you need to really think about. And the final question that most of you might have, is it really worth living in Türkiye in 2022? Well, everything depends from person to person and the situation you are in. And I will tell you why. For some people, all of these prices that we just gave you might be very affordable. And yeah, that is true. For many people out there, might be quite affordable if you compare it to living, I don't know, in Germany, in the US and everything. But also probably these people is because they have income in a foreign currency, in a much more stronger foreign currency than Turkish lira. But to those earning only in Turkish lira, which is the local currency, then people will have a bit more of trouble finding affordable prices in this country. And probably many of you have been already in Türkiye as a tourist, but let me tell you that visiting the country as a tourist is not the same as already living here, because of course many things will be much more affordable, but once that you're here, then you will see the reality. And Turkey is a very beautiful country to live in. Trust me, I love Turkey. I love the people, the food, the culture, the history, everything. I just love the country. It's a country that I already consider my own home and I feel so comfortable. But also there are many things that you need to take into consideration, like the economic situation. I know that this problem, it's been going on all around the world. It's not just in Turkey. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic and some other problems, every single country has been having some inflation. But I'm speaking about Turkey because this is where I live, and also I know there are many people outside that will consider probably moving to Turkey because maybe they are living in a much more expensive country. So I am sure this video will be helpful for them and it will clear up some of their questions. So now that you finally know how much money you'll approximately need to live in Istanbul, you can finally decide whether you move or not to Turkey. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and see you in the next video. Bye bye!